did you graduate from Hamilton College?
When did I graduate?
Yes.
2006.
And what was your major?
I doubled in theater and creative writing.
Ooh, wow, that's really cool.
It's pretty fun. I liked it.
I really want to take some creative writing classes. It has like such a good reputation. Everyone loves it that does it.
Yeah, it's one of the few undergrad schools that offers it as a legit major. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I came.
Yeah. Okay. What campus organizations were you a part of while you were at Hamilton?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I was definitely on the board for Untitled at Large
Okay.
at one point, which I don't know if that's still a thing, but that was a
Yes.
theatrical thing. Yeah, okay, cool. um,
Did you have any like jobs or extracurriculars?
yeah, I worked at the mail center all 4 years.
Oh, that's so cool. I love the Mills.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Who doesn't? They're great.
It's a happy
Hung
place.
out with Tammy and
Oh my God.
Jan, and I know.
Okay, so you worked at the mail center, and were you out while you were at Hamilton College?
Yes and no. I was really just kind of figuring it all out while I was at Hamilton. So I was with both men and women romantically while I was there, and I didn't make any bones about it, but I don't know that I had figured out yet that what I was bisexual to call myself that. I wasn't part of any I wasn't really, certainly I had other friends who were queer, but I wasn't part of any like organized queer
Okay.
community activities at Hamilton or anything like that.
Would you say that you're out now?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm obnoxiously out now.
I love it. Okay. So what was your experience with the climate for I guess LGBTQIA or like
Yeah.
queer students?
It was good. You know, it was definitely a place, and really the first place that I was very comfortable figuring things out and being myself. I was very much a dark sider. Again, I don't know if that's still a big thing.
Oh,
Dark
it's
side, light side.
totally a thing still.
Yeah. That's a real big thing. Yeah. So it was definitely a big thing when I was there. And I was definitely dark side all 4 years, hanging out, you know, with the artsy weirdos. So it was a pretty comfortable climate. As far as the only thing I really remember being odd about the experience there was, you know, there was an organized, I think it was Rainbow something student group, but there was a rumor that one of the people who ran that group, there had been some like kind of hate speech stuff written on the little whiteboard on his door.
Oh God.
And it had been a saying, well, but what turned me off from really being a part of that group was then that later on, someone who was a close friend of his told me that he had done it himself to start a conversation. And I don't know if that was true or not, but it really turned me off of joining that group, you know. So that was a rumor that was going around. And again, I don't know what was true. I don't know if really there was hate speech that was thrown at him, or if it was a poor decision that someone made to try to get attention. I don't know. But as you can imagine, it kind of soured me on looking in that direction for community.
Did you face any personal hardships that was connected to your identity while you're at school?
No, just the usual, you know, I think the usual growing pains that come with figuring out what the hell's going on and what you want and who you are. As far as any pushback or issues from students or professors or anyone like that, no, not at all.
Um, and what did you think was like the most difficult part of being queer while at Hamilton?
Well, Hamilton, um, I said again, I think there wasn't much that was difficult. I didn't, in general, find the experience difficult. But if anything was difficult, I think it was that lack of too many other people who had figured it out already, which I think helps when you have a real strong sense of community with other people. Um, then you get the old timers who are like, oh, I've been through this before. I know what you're feeling. I know you're confused. I know what's going on. And I didn't really have that. I didn't really have any other women around me um, that that were too much experiencing the same thing that I was experiencing. So I that would have been nice. But other than that, yeah, it wasn't hard. There was nothing hard about it.
So were you mostly friends with people that were also queer?
A mix. It was a mix. Like I said, I was on the dark side. So, I wouldn't say mostly, but certainly I had a significant number of friends. Um, really, mostly gay men. Um, I didn't really struggle in, I guess, other than Anne Horowitz, who I guess I'm more friends with her now than I was when we were really in school. I didn't really know any women who were queer. A few women that since have come out as queer. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, it was mostly gay men.
Okay. What did you think was like the best part of kind of exploring that identity while at school?
It was the freedom that I felt at Hamilton to do that. Part of it is just being away from home for the first time, and the consequences of family or an old life or those kinds of being free from those kind of pressures that would have come with going to start anywhere, I think. But Hamilton in general, and not just with my sexuality, but in general, I felt super comfortable being myself. I felt for the first time like I could say anything that I was thinking, and I could explore anything that I was interested in. And I mean, not only was there no negative consequences to that, but I felt like I was really pulling in the people that I wanted to be around
Yeah.
with that. So it was great. It was a great place to get messy and make mistakes, as they say.
um, I like that. Did you engage in any campus activism for the LGBTQIA community while you were here?
Did I do any activism? No.
Um, and did you do that like off campus after, or was that like, or is Hamilton kind of more still figuring it out before you really like got in?
Yeah, I really was just figuring it out. And as a bisexual, I definitely still at Hamilton was going through that that feeling that a lot of bisexuals go through at some point or another, where you have kind of like an imposter syndrome, because sometimes I'm dating straight men. So am I really gay? Do I really belong in that community? I can hide,
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I can. I don't have to face the discrimination that other people do. I can hide from it if I choose to do so. And they don't have that freedom. So I think a lot of people who are bi, sometimes there's not as much acceptance. Like the straight people don't want us, the gay people don't always want to claim us either. And so I wasn't confident enough yet in my sexuality and who and what I was to not have that feeling of, I don't know if I belong doing activism for the queer community. I don't know if I belong at a rainbow meeting. I don't know if I would be welcome there. I don't know if I have a place there. And no one made me feel that way. It was just the feeling that I had.
Yeah. Did you feel like pressure to be kind of a certain way?
Not really. No.
Okay, good. um, What impact did coming out have on your work life?
In my work life,
Yes.
um, it's been mostly positive. I've actually done a lot of activism at work this year. They've recently, it's an odd spot. So we're an aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
So we're full of scientists. So we've got a lot of very educated, for the most part, very socially liberal people
Okay.
that work there. But on the other hand, we are seated right in the middle of Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and our audience is not so much that a lot of the time. And that causes all sorts of challenges with educating people about all sorts of things. But it also means, hold on just one second.
No worries.
Hey, guys, knock it off. My cat got out. Sorry. I don't know when he snuck out, but he did. But recently, just in the last year, one of our trustees at the institution has come out and said, we really want to make sure that we are answering the needs and making people in that community feel welcome, both as employees and as guests here. What are we doing to address that? And so they've created a diversity committee that I've been a big part of. And something I was really proud of for this year is the aquarium has these glass peaks to the top of the buildings, and there are lights that run across the peaks, and they change color for different events in town. Mm-hmm. So they might be red, white, and blue lights for 4th of July, and they do Christmas colors, and they'll do it for like breast cancer research. They'll make them pink, so they do it for all different kinds of things. And this was the first year that we got them to turn them rainbow for Pride.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
I know. And it was a big deal. It was a big deal. It's the first time they've done it, and it was a pretty bold statement. And so they turned the lights rainbow for Pride, and they offered a discount for people that day who came in and mentioned that they were celebrating Pride. So that was very cool. It's something that I got to be a part of making happen. And it's extra special because we celebrate Pride next to the aquarium. There's this big kind of field and event space next to the aquarium. So there's a lot of people down there celebrating, and they could look up and see,
especially in
that sign of acceptance. Yeah. So that's been good.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. What impact did coming out have on your family life?
It's kind of funny. My little brother is gay, and he's been out since he was a teenager, and everyone in the family is totally fine with that. They actually had a much harder time with me being bi than they did with him being gay. And he was out before I was out, even though he's a lot younger than me. And everyone was so fine with it that I really didn't see it coming that it would be an issue at all. Mm-hmm. But I think the way my family saw it was that being queer is a harder life, and Jimmy couldn't help it because he's just gay. But they saw it as me having a choice, because I can be attracted to either. So that was a little more challenging. It's not something I'm close with my family, but it's not something I talk about with them a lot. Definitely probably the biggest thing I don't talk to them about. So that's been a little challenging.
Do you share with them like when you're dating someone?
Sometimes I don't. It really depends. With a woman, it has to get pretty serious before I would say anything. Otherwise, I might just say, "Oh, I'm going out on a date tonight," and not.
So do you
specify
to like tell them if you're dating a man than you are a woman?
Oh yeah, way more comfortable telling them I'm dating a man. Yeah, and they'll make comments like when I have mentioned it that I am going out on a date with a woman, I'll get a comment like, "Well, maybe you two can just be good friends, something lovely and condescending like that, So it's not something I talk about a ton with them.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. What impact did coming out have on like your social life? I guess we're talking about all the different spheres here.
Yeah. I don't know that I really feel that it has, other than I think as much as I wasn't a part of necessarily queer community at Hamilton, right now is a really important time for queer community. Not that it ever wasn't, but it feels particularly important now. And now that I'm all grown up, and I'm confident in who I am, and I'm confident that bisexual is what I am, and I'm confident that I do belong in the queer community, and that my queer identity is legitimate, no matter who I'm dating. Now that I have all of that inside me, and I know that, I definitely am more involved with queer community here in Chattanooga, and that it's different. It feels really good. It definitely sometimes feels very much like moving between worlds. But it's something that I really value, really feeling like I have a sense of place in that community.
Do you feel like, do your parents still live in Kansas?
They do, yeah.
Okay. So do you feel like that kind of community is different? Like, are you out to your kind of community at home too? So like you're.
I moved around a lot growing up, so I don't really have a community at home.
Okay.
When I went to Hamilton, I had been to 9 other schools before I got there. Oh, so, yeah. Hamilton was really the first place that so I'd been moved around a whole bunch my whole life. I hated it. And when it came time to go to school, I was lucky enough to be in a position that I got to kind of be like, I'm going really far away. I'm going over there. And I don't really care what you think about it. I'll see you guys at Christmas, kind of a thing, So I went really far away, and I hadn't even visited Hamilton before I showed up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'd never been in upstate New York before I showed up. My dad dropped me off, and I was like, "This is my life now."
What was your first
impression? My first impression? It's obviously very beautiful. Very beautiful. I was excited, and what was really nice was I don't know if Pete Rabinowitz still teaches there.
What'd you say? Sorry, Professor who?
Professor Rabinowitz, Peter Rabinowitz.
Oh,
is he still a professor?
I recognize the name. I'm not 100%.
He was a comparative literature professor when I was there. I can't remember if he's still there or not. He's been there for a long time. But anyway, so Pete Rabinowitz was my first advisor, the one that was assigned to me when I started. Mm-hmm. And my dad, took me out to school, and we walk into just this big tent where there's, kind of like a little mixer thing going on. And this man walks up and shakes my hand and says, "Oh, you must be Sara. I'm your advisor." So he had gotten pictures of us, and he knew who to look for. Yeah, so it made me feel better, and it made my dad feel like 200% better that someone knew me and was looking out for me, and that kind of thing. So he felt better leaving me than he would have otherwise, I think. But yeah, no, I loved it from the beginning, and I loved it even more because it was 100% mine. I had chosen it. I had made it happen. I didn't bring in any outside connections to it. Every success I had there, every friendship I made, every relationship was mine. It was 100% mine. So I had a great time, and I think I very fondly remember my time there for sure.
Wow. What impact, I know you said that you're atheist, what impact has, or like kind of, how has that kind of coexisted with your queer identity?
I'm sorry, one more time?
That was a confusing question. Sorry.
Yeah.
How has like coming out or your identity, like how does that relate to your atheism, if at all? Like, is that?
Oh, my religious stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I wouldn't say that my atheism is a result of my queer identity. Um, Certainly, being queer has not made me feel welcome or driven to join any religious communities of any variety. Um, so it's maybe made it less tempting. I don't know. Not that it was ever tempting. Um, so yeah, man. I mean, I certainly reject any religious moralizing on the subject of uh, being queer. But other than that, no, I don't think they particularly have much to do with each other.
Okay. So what do you think some of the biggest challenges facing the what do you think some of the biggest challenges are that are facing
Mm-hmm.
the LGBTQIA community today?
I think obviously the political climate right now is
Mm-hmm.
hostile. We're all freaked out about the Supreme Court and the impacts that could have on our rights. That's some scary stuff going on right now. This election coming up is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Don't you guys have a really close race in Tennessee? Isn't there?
Oh yeah, yes we do. Yeah, Blackburn, Marsha Blackburn, and Phil
Oh
Bredesen
yeah. Oh my God. And I remember the reason I know, this is pathetic. Because
is because Taylor Swift played
yeah,
in.
he posted them.
Yeah.
And also, like some of my best friends are in Gov, and they're like, we have I think we're the New York 22nd or 21st, have a
Mhm.
crazy competitive uh, congressional campaign going on right now too. Like
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
the Democrats are probably going to prevail.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's going on. I love me some Tay Sway. I'm glad she weighed in.
yeah, I know
Um,
me too. It's about time.
it is about time, and I think she did well at it, pointing out all the reasons why Marsha Blackburn sucks instead of necessarily being like, because I'm a Democrat.
Yeah,
So hopefully she swayed some people. But yeah, no, it's really tight here. So very focused, very focused on that. And really, even more than just maybe not more than protecting our rights is the most important thing. But a big part of it was just feeling rejected by our country, and rejected by our fellow citizens. Like, really, that many of you felt that way? Or even if you didn't feel that way, you cared that much more about other things than you did about me, and my right to exist and be and do what I want to do and have the life that I want to have. So that's stressful. I also think a big problem facing the community uh, comes from within the community too. I think there's as the community kind of grows and unfolds, there's something beautiful about people finding really specific identities for themselves, but it can also feel divisive too. And I think sometimes we're not patient enough with each other, um, she got my pronouns wrong, one time, you gotta, you gotta have a little patience with each other and acceptance. So I think especially more as I think this is really the time where the transgender community is really stepping up and coming forward, and not everyone within the queer community knows quite what to do with that.
yeah,
So I think unity within, when it is much needed, is something that has to be worked on for sure.
yeah, yeah. So are those like divisive issues that you kind of mentioned? Do you feel like those are you're affected by those too, or do you feel like they're just problems within the community that you see?
I don't know that I'm deeply personally affected by them. Certainly I'm sensitive to them as I move through the community. You want to be that person who makes people feel welcome, who makes people feel like you're trying, to do whatever they need you to do, to do that. So it's not something I think that personally affects me. I mean, other than there is still some of that stigma in the queer community that, you know, that if I'm dating a straight man today, that I don't have any business in that community.
Yeah.
And but on the whole, that's not what I experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that like the stigmas associated with being bisexual have improved or changed over time?
I think we're getting there. I think
Okay.
we're getting there. I do think it's a little bit better, but it's really hard to say also if just my experience has gotten better or if the actual overall experience has gotten better. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything else that I missed that you also want to bring up? I know that some of the questions are like it's like a semi-structured interview, so we have the questions out, but I don't know. There's some things that just don't get mentioned. So if there's anything that you want to continue to talk about that will further the discussion, we can totally do that.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, like I said, I had a good experience at Hamilton. It was a great place to feel free to figure things out. Not always a smooth ride, but always a healthy one, I think. And yeah, it was great. I love the school, and I'm happy to have been a part of this.
Do you go back to like the alumni reunions and things?
Oh yeah, so much. I am definitely that like obnoxious alumni who's always there when I can be. I'm not, you know, I'm kind of far away.
Yeah.
For a while, I was running some alumni theater stuff for reunions weekend.
Oh, wow.
We did some shows. We did when Minor Theater closed and became a dorm. We did a big blowout, which is one of the best, most fun nights of my whole life. Okay, well, they were literally starting to tear it down the morning after our last show.
Wow.
So we started tearing it down for them that night. I have some odd souvenirs from Minor Theater.
That sounds really fun.
It was great.
Was that kind of hard to see that getting torn down?
It was. Minor Theater was a mess. It was ancient and falling apart, but that also made us fearless because you couldn't mess anything up. You know, we did shows where they brought in a ton of sand. They literally filled the stage with actual sand for this play that took place on the beach. We did crazy things. Because why not? You know, everything was falling apart. So there was always this sense of, like Hamilton has so much money and the shiny new science building, but here we are in this crappy old theater. No one cares about the theater, but we loved it too. So it was both of those things. A new theater was absolutely needed, but there's so much memory and love in that old building. So I had to petition the president of the school. I wrote this heartfelt letter to the president because they wanted to start construction before reunions. And I talked them into waiting until the day after so that we could do one last festival. So we did all alumni written pieces, and we did a big show, and then we had a giant party where we tore things up and lit things on fire and stayed up all night and ran around naked covered in rolls of bubble tape and broke onto the construction site for the new theater and went swimming in the pond. It was great. We had a great night.
People still swim.
Yeah, it was big fun. There was actually one of the students, there was some current students that stayed on to help with the tech stuff for it. And one of them came up to me while the theater was just, you know, in total chaos that night. And she was like, Sarah, this is really fun, but I'm really worried I'm going to get in trouble. And I was like, I don't see you here. You went home after the show. This is just a bunch of crazy alumni. And she was like, okay, great. And then she scampered off. Yeah, so it was hard to see it go for sure, but the new theater was definitely needed.
Yeah. Have you been to the new one yet?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, it's very fancy.
it's very fancy.
So fancy. So fancy. I think I'm definitely glad that I came in though on the side of the old falling apart
Yeah.
theater.
Yeah, I know. But now it's the theater, they have kind of like the I guess like the outer part is kind of preserved, so it looks the same as I guess it like did a little bit, but the dorms
Mm-hmm.
are really, really, really nice in there.
Yeah, I haven't seen. I actually haven't seen. I could have. I've been back since that conversion happened, and I didn't. I couldn't bring myself to walk into the building and have it not be what I
It's really
have
it's
it not be what I remembered.
yeah,
So.
it's like a dorm. It's kind of like Ferg now. It's so weird.
Mhm. Yeah.
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 So the theater was like a big part of your, that was like your, was it like your main social group, would you say?
That's a good question. It was a big part of my social group.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it was a big, huge part of my life. You know, it takes up all your time in the evenings,
Yeah.
rehearsal, and the theater professors did not tolerate any other competition for your time. So we were always there. So it was definitely a second home. And I would stay sometimes in the summer and help clean out the theater in the summertime. And all of us broke in at night. The back door, the loading door, if you pulled on it really hard, came open. And, you know, it's a theater, so there's no, once you're in the theater proper, no one from the outside can see if there's a light on or anything like that. So
Oh yeah, I guess.
everyone,
Right.
we all broke in after hours all the time and hung out.
That's
Lots of shenanigans.
were you involved in any Greek life? I guess.
No, no, no. No, 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 no. No.
It's
I did.
interesting because yeah, I don't know. There's yeah, Greek life is funky here, you know?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
still like this
it is.
your reaction that you just had, like I get that. Because it's you know, like it's a different there really is like dark siders and light siders and like
There really is. Yeah, it's two very different worlds, and I loved both worlds. You know,
yeah,
there were certainly people that were very much light siders that I loved and appreciated, but I was very much a dark sider, and so that was also weird too because our theater was on the light side, so we had this weird
yeah,
little
I know,
pocket
it is weird to think
next to a cemetery. Very emo of us, and
it was really close to the cemetery.
a lot of fun. Yeah, I was. I mean, I'm not someone who would be inclined to be a part of Greek life anyway, but I remember being really kind of pissed because the only way that Greek life made sense to me was for networking after you graduated.
Yeah.
And all of the, I don't know if this is still the case, but when I was there, all of the fraternities at Hamilton were nationally affiliated and not a single sorority was.
Still the same.
And that felt really uneven and unfair
Yeah.
to me.
Well, it's because
Um,
if the sororities go national, then they can't host like any parties with alcohol because
mhm,
they won't let them. Like that's the rules
mhm,
because
mhm,
sexism and rape culture ingrained in our society. It's wonderful.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
yeah. Like we're having. I'm not in Greek life, but my really good friends that are, and
mhm,
they're like facing. There's just like issues going on with the administration because
mhm.
of this stuff, and it's hard. But yeah, I think it's like it's interesting to kind of talk about it in context of
Mhm.
the campus culture. You know, it's important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure, for sure.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I'm trying to think if I have any more questions.
yeah. Anything you'd like to know?
Hold on,
I'm obviously a dangerously open book.
That's good for interviews.
Yeah.
um, would you? What would you change if you had to go back and do it again?
What would I change? Man, not much. Not much. I will say every single time I had the choice between doing a paper or doing the super academically responsible thing or doing something really fun and social, I chose really fun and social, and I do not regret any of those decisions. Like I took the honors course my senior year for
Mhm.
creative writing,
Mhm.
um, and it came down to senior week. And in order to graduate with honors after having taken the course, all I had to do was write a book review,
Mhm.
but I didn't want to because it
I
was
get it.
senior week.
Oh yeah, forget it.
And so I didn't. I just didn't do it. And I graduated with honors in theater, but not in creative writing. And that has had no impact on my life whatsoever. So I guess I always chose memories over academics, and I don't regret that choice.
Yeah.
Those were good choices.
Um,
Um,
how did you get to
I
the
would just go back and do it all over again just for the fun of doing it
yeah.
all over again. I don't think I would change anything.
Um, what was I just saying? I can't remember. Oh, how did you get to the job that you're doing now?
That is actually a good question since it's not really obvious how that happens. So I love animals. I've always been in animals, and I actually, when I got to Hamilton, my plan was to double in creative writing and biology.
Oh,
And I'm horrible at math, just awful. I can't do it.
it's fine.
And I knew I wasn't going to get perfect grades, which I was accustomed to getting perfect grades. I was that kid in high school. So I knew it was going to be hard to get less than perfect grades, but I told myself, it's fine. You're at a really good school. There's no shame in getting imperfect grades. This is what you want to do it. So I tried. So for my first year, maybe year and a half, I took a lot of biology, hung out a lot with Professor Reynolds, took some trips out to,
Mm.
I think he's Dean now. I think he's Dean Reynolds now. But took trips out to Mystic to do some marine biology stuff. And so I did a significant amount of biology coursework, but I did eventually give up because I couldn't do the statistics. I couldn't do the chemistry. I just couldn't. So that was when I switched to doing theater and creative writing. So I took some biology, but I didn't major in it. And when I graduated, I moved to downtown Chicago. And my dad, he recently retired, but he was a museum director my whole life
Wow.
and dragged us around all these different museums. And there's a lot of museums in Chicago. And so that just kind of felt like home when I got there and didn't know what to do with myself. So I applied for a job at the Field Museum, which is a natural history museum there, and I applied for a job at the aquarium. And it was just a seasonal ticket taker type position.
Mhm.
Um, so I spent 6 months, just telling people where to put their strollers and where the dolphin show was and that kind of thing. But once I was in, I discovered there was a whole department of people that were made up of a mix of theater people and biology people who did the presentations
Oh,
at
that's so
the
fun.
aquarium. Yeah, so once I got my foot in the door doing just the dinkiest job possible, then I got to know them and be friends with them. And when something opened up in that department, I was able to jump over and do that. So for 3.5 years, then I was a presentation specialist there. So I would host dive presentations and bring animals out and talk about them and host the big marine mammal shows and, talk in front of 1,000 people all day long and do that kind of thing, do program development, educational stuff. And Shed Aquarium is a really big name in the industry. It's one
Mhm.
of the top facilities. So just having that on my resume, then when I decided I wanted to move on, I was able to kind of go where I wanted. And so I went from there to the Houston Zoo, where I took a job just as a zookeeper at the Houston Zoo.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was there for 4 years. I became a senior keeper there and really got into animal training and stuff. And then after 4 years there, my friend sent me the job description for my current job, which is basically my dream job. When you're taking care of animals, the two things that are like fun, awesome things that you get to do if you get all the poop cleaned up in time, if you get all of the like horrible physical labor done and you get some extra time to do stuff, you do training and you do enrichment for the animals. And my job here, I coordinate training, enrichment, and programming. So I'm using the theater stuff, I'm using the time I spent at Shed doing presentations, that's a part of my job, and I'm using the animal care stuff I learned while I was a zookeeper, that's a part of my job too. So I coordinate all that here, and I've been doing that for 4 years now. And I think I'm gonna stay put for a little while.
Yeah. And okay, so you didn't choose necessarily to move to Tennessee, the job was there.
Yeah, I moved. So I was in Houston. Someone sent me the job description. I applied for it, and really, when I applied for the job here, because it was my dream job, and because I hadn't been in management at all yet at that point in my career, I thought at best I'm going to get hopefully some experience interviewing for this type of position or interviewing at this level. And 2 weeks later, they hired me, and I was moving to Tennessee. So that was it was kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you like Tennessee compared to the other places that you lived?
I love Chattanooga. Chattanooga is a groovy town. It's really pretty. It actually reminds me a lot of upstate New York. It's very hilly. But we have 4 distinct seasons here that each last a reasonable amount of time. So that's really cool. Nothing ever gets too extreme weather-wise. And Chattanooga is it's a very outdoorsy city. And there's a lot of people that live here from other places. There's actually a lot of tech startups from New York City that are moving here.
Yeah,
we have the fastest, it's crazy, right? We have the fastest internet speed anywhere outside of China here in Chattanooga.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I don't know why, but we do. And they give it for free to small businesses. If you're a local business, you don't have to pay for your access to that internet. And so we have a cute little regional airport. We have a comfortable airport. There's a nonstop flight to New York City. So these tech startup people can live here, take advantage of the internet speed, take advantage of the business incentives that they give them to be here, live here at a fraction of the cost of living in New York City, and fly back to the city anytime they need to for meetings and stuff. So it's an up and coming town.
Do you feel like where is it on like the political spectrum, do you think? Is it like a little bit more liberal because it's a city, or is it like Tennessee and a little bit more conservative?
It's really right down the middle. I'd say it's a tiny bit more on the side of conservative, but I've certainly had no trouble surrounding myself with people who are very liberal. There's so many. I mean, it's kind of the divide of people who've grown up here and people that are coming in from other places to live in a cool city. So there's a little bit of both, but I think we're definitely trending more liberal. I think in the next 10 years it'll be a super liberal town.
Do you think that the queer community is growing as a result of that, or do you think that?
I think it is, and I think people are at least feeling more of a sense of community. We had a really good turnout for Pride this year. It was a really nice weekend. So yeah, I think it's definitely growing.
Is it really like enriching to know that you're having an impact on the community like that?
It is. I was really proud of the Rainbow Peaks thing this year.
Cool.
And I was really proud of that, to have been a part of making that happen. And I did. I'm a belly dancer as well. I'm a professional belly dancer here in town. I teach, and I'm part of a professional troupe. And so I taught a special performance intensive for Pride. We perform at Pride every year. And so I taught a performance intensive for Pride, and we did this crazy dance with these rainbow fan veils, these huge rainbow veils. So I was very literally on stage in front and center in Pride this year, and that felt good. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do your parents do they know that you have this big community that you're a part of, or do they kind of think that what's your sense on that?
Man, I don't think my dad thinks or cares about it one way or the other. I don't think he cares at all. My mom, who I'm really much closer with, I think she thinks, I don't think she thinks anything of me being a part of the queer community because of my little brother. And I mean, she has no issues whatsoever herself with people who are gay. She just thinks I'm being over dramatic and choosing life is harder than it has to be really is her issue. So no, I don't think she thinks anything of me being part of the community or worries about it.
Is your brother really active in the community as well, or?
He's actually not. He's actually not particularly. He doesn't do well with crowds. So big kind of community events make him kind of nervous. So I'm definitely much more involved than he is, I would say.
Yeah. How has it kind of affected your relationship with your mom?
Yeah, she's my best friend, and we talk on the phone once or twice a day, and there's really nothing. I mean, I think she probably wishes there were things I didn't tell her. I think I tell her more than she really wants to know most of the time about my life. So it sucks that there's this one thing that's hard between us. You know, it's a sticking point. It's not my favorite thing. It kind of sucks.
So you feel like you kind of can't. There's a part of your life that you kind of can't really share as much with.
Yeah. And I push. I definitely slowly but surely am pushing the envelope with her a little bit more and a little bit more. But I think we'll get there. Yeah. But it sucks that there's everything else is so easy and this one thing is not.
Yeah. Do you have that with anyone else that you're close with that kind of has a that little conflict there?
Not really. Well, there's one of the women who I dance with, and she's one of my close dance sisters. She's in the professional troupe with me, which is a small group of us, and she's extremely religious, and she doesn't. And I'm very open about my sexuality. I talk about it all the time. It's not something I keep a secret at dance. And she laughs, and she's never shamed me or anything like that. But she also refuses to perform with us at Pride. And I know she's told other people, that she worries for my soul, etc. So that's hard to have someone that I love so much and that I respect so much, and who's such a good, warm, wonderful friend, and know that there's this part of me that they can't accept.
Do you feel? I feel like this may just be my own experience. I'm not bisexual, but I know a lot of people that are, and I feel like there's this kind of pressure to just pretend that you're straight because you can.
Because you can.
Yeah. Do you feel like? Do you feel like that pressure? Do you feel that pressure a lot?
I like that I do from my family. Feel that pressure from my mom specifically. I actually feel more pressure the other way. I feel like I make a big deal out of my sexuality. I'm very open with it. I talk about it often. I post about it on Facebook. Like bisexuality awareness month was last month, and I posted a bunch of stuff and all that jazz. So I actually feel more pressure when I am dating a straight man, because I feel like there's a little bit like, oh, if I was just dating a dude, and so I actually feel more reverse pressure. I feel more defensive of when I'm in a relationship with a straight man than if I was dating a woman, just because not everyone understands how that works.
No, I was reading this article about, do you know the artist Halsey? She's a singer. How people were frustrated because she was very open about her bisexuality and how her songs, everyone felt that she talked almost exclusively about dating men and how she wasn't representing the bisexual community. And then the backlash against that was she can be 80% into guys, 80% into girls. That's her own choice. That's what bisexuality is. It's different for everyone. And that just, it makes me think of that, how she has this pressure from the queer community almost to represent that. It's her own
Yeah.
thing.
So yeah, I feel that pressure more than I necessarily feel the other pressure, and that's partially just who I've surrounded myself with by choice. But yeah, and that's, bisexuality is weird that way, in that it is more of a scale, kind of like gender fluidity. It's one is gender and one is sexuality. So I'm not equating those two things, but where people fall somewhere on a scale, generally speaking. You're not. Whereas if you're a lesbian, you're a lesbian, or you're gay, you're gay. There's definitely, the majority of my significant long-term relationships have been with men.
Okay. So what would
But I would say
your spectrum is? Are you like, what's your percentages, if you feel comfortable saying?
my percentage. Well, what's funny is, like, my therapist thinks that if I didn't have daddy issues, I could just be a happy lesbian. She's told me. I feel like I tend to go to men to like work out relationship issues. But so I would say, 90% of my serious romantic relationships have been with men, but I would say 90% of my sexual fantasies are women. So for me, there's this kind of divide between who I'm interested in necessarily always romantically and who I'm interested in sexually.
Interesting. I totally feel like that's a thing.
It is, but it's not something that people talk about very often, because, oh boy, there's a whole bunch of lesbians, if they heard me saying that right now.
Well, yeah, and then
he would be real mad at me for saying it, but it's true. It's not that I've never dated a woman, and it's not, part of being a bisexual is that you are open to different people making you want different things. Different people bring out different things in me. So it's not that I've never dated a woman. It's not that I've never met a woman that I was like, I do a lot of app dating, as everyone has to do these days in the adult world. And my friend, it's funny, 'cause my friend was like, well, she'll ask me, you went on a date last night? I said, yeah. And she'll be like, where did you go? And she knows that if I met someone at a coffee shop, it was a dude. And if I'm like, I took them out to a fancy dinner, it was a woman. So, yeah, different people make you want different things, but it's very, very, very taboo to say, I love sleeping with women, but I don't as often want to actually date them.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do. Sometimes I do. Sometimes there are women that I'm like, I want to take you out to fancy dinner, and I want to be your girlfriend. But more often, I enjoy being sexual with women, and I tend to have my more steady long-term relationships with men.
Yeah, no, I don't. I know what you're talking about, because I've definitely heard that other people tell me like similar things to that. But also, I don't know, maybe it's because of this whole cultural idea where like bisexual people and like lesbian girls are like sexualized for like the male.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, people are sensitive of that. Yeah.
Could this be internal? Could I be internalizing? Like, I don't know. It's just such an interesting thing to explore.
It is. Yeah, when I was at Hamilton, someone took a picture of me kissing my friend Becky, and it's actually a really lovely picture because I have super dark hair and she has like white blonde hair, and you can't really see our faces. It's kind of cool. It's a cool picture, but it went up on Facebook, and Facebook was brand new. It was just a thing. You still had to have a school ID. If you had to have a school email to get on to Facebook, they had just started opening it up to high schools. And so that was all rolling out. And it had just opened up to my high school. And after that picture got put up on Facebook, all of these guys from high school started friending me. And it took me a minute to figure out why. I was a little naive. I was just like, oh, I remember Joe from homeroom. Why does Joe from homeroom want to be my friend all of a sudden? He didn't want to be my friend in homeroom. Oh, wait. I know why.
Oh, that's
yeah.
That's so interesting.
That's definitely part of it. And I understand why some people in the community are defensive because of that. that image, but
Yeah.
I also don't appreciate having my experience edited because
Yeah.
other people aren't comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's not fair.
So,
Okay. Do you have any questions for me? Like I've been interrogating you.
no, no. What's your story? What's your major? What are you doing?
So I don't know yet. um,
Oh,
yeah,
awesome. That's great.
yeah, I'm
I love
I'm
that.
bad at decisions. I went
Mhm.
in as kind of similar to you, like interested in neuroscience, but
Uh-huh.
not really into the whole science thing because it's really hard.
It's
Um,
so hard. Oh god, it's so
it's-
hard.
so I'm sitting in the science center right now, just so you know. But it's yeah, I just found it to be like very difficult, and I was taking other humanities classes, and I was so much more interested, like I wanted to spend so much more time doing writing
Mhm.
and like reading and that kind of just humanities work, and I was like, I'm really not interested, like I'm pushing myself into this because
Mhm.
I'm like women in STEM, like I need to have a job,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
be practical and like all these things that like kind of weren't really me. So
Mhm.
yeah, now I'm probably gonna go probably gov, women's studies, some common,
Mhm.
also maybe
Do
German.
it.
Uh,
Love it.
yeah, it's
Have
hard.
you? I don't know if he still teaches this course. I'm going to give you some unsolicited advice. My, if you enjoy the humanities, my favorite class that I took at Hamilton, and the class that I feel like I learned more than anything else from, Frank Siaka, who's a Russian professor. He taught a Russian folklore class.
Oh, I love Russia. That's fascinating to me.
Yeah. So and so what was really great about the class is he started his Russian folklore class basically at the dawn of humanity, and
Oh,
and and taught about our most ancient use of symbols. And long story short, I learned so much about the symbols all around me in the world and how I interpreted them based on the culture that I lived in without even realizing I was doing it, and how we communicate in so many different ways than we think we do within the context of our own culture. So anyway, if he ever offers Russian folklore, go take it with
I'm down.
Professor Siaka. He's amazing, and
Yeah,
it's an amazing class.
he's here. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
he probably teaches German stuff too. Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I'm so
Uh-huh.
good at that because I loved it. Have you read the Da Vinci Code?
What's that?
Have you read the book The Da Vinci Code?
No, I
Okay,
haven't.
you have to. If you like the
I
symbolic
have,
stuff, you have to,
I
especially
have to read that. All right.
as a not religious person. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Interesting. Okay.
I was really not, I'm not really into religion at all, and like I thought it was
Uh huh.
so fascinating, so
Interesting.
fascinating.
Cool.